What's up, guys? If you're anything like me and you got skateboards at your house, you're constantly tripping over them, there's no real good place to hang them. So today we're gonna make some brackets very simply to help put these right up on the wall. So let's get started. But before we get started, please hit the subscribe button. I know you're gonna like all the how-to videos that I put out every single week about all sorts of things around your house. Also, hit the like button because it really helps grow the channel and helps other people see this kind of content. Let's go get started. How do we build this? How do we make something to hold our skateboards tight to the wall? The first thing that you want to do is you want to figure out, how do you want it to sit on the wall? Do you want it to sit flat? Are they going to be up high? Maybe on display in your office like I'm going to do? I want people to see like the bottom of it. So if it's sitting like this, it's kind of difficult to see. So I'm going to do something like this. And I'm going to just take my framing square. Actually, we'll go a lot simpler than that. We're going to make it so that this is flush to the ground or like to the wall. If this is our wall, and just have this edge touch. Then I'm going to measure up, and I've got 4.5 inches basically. So then I'm going to come over here. I want it to mount to the walls, but I want a solid base for it to mount to the wall, right? So I'm going to go 4 inches up. I'm going to draw ourselves a line. Now this is the section that's going to be mounted to the wall. So I wanted a nice solid base. Then this is our 0 point. Now we said that skateboard, if it was out here, by the time you got to the top of it, it was going to be 4.5 inches. Well, this material is 5.5, so I'm going to just make a mark somewhere out here at 4.5. Then I'm going to take our skateboard and I'm going to measure this. And I've got 8.5. So then I'm going to put my tape on 8.5 right here, and I'm going to go like this and just kind of make an arch. And then I'm going to extend our line down a little bit like that. And then now I know this is our angle. Now, I don't want the support to be the full length of the board, but I still need to know this angle. And I just hold it on my edge right here, and then find that X, pull that through just like that. And then maybe I only want it to come up a little past the trucks. So I'm going to just make it 4 inches. So where that 0 point is, I'm going to just measure up 4 inches right to like the middle. And so then I come over here and I measure that up. And then that's where our intersection is. So then I make another line this way. And now I want a nice solid base for this thing to sit on. So I'm going to go 2 inches. And I'm going to measure off our line 2 inches like that. I'm going to make another line. So now we know we got this nice solid support. But then when our angle happens, how do we make this nice? I'm going to make a mark at 2 and a mark at 2. And then I'm going to draw another line like this. And to be honest with you, I don't really like that. I like where this intersection is better. So I'm going to just take a measurement of that. And I'll use my square and I'll just put a mark on there like that. And then I'll come down to this end and I'll make that mark right like that. And then I'm going to just line up that intersection with this mark. And that's going to be our line, not this one. And that way, got a nice solid something or another to hold the whole thing together. And you can also play around with this because I got the wood grain going this way. You can do all sorts of interesting things. So you could take this glue bottle, you can line it up something like that. Maybe you want a cool radius on there like that. You have this cool little something to mount your skateboard to. And again, this is all preference. So however you want this to look, this is the way that you would go about it. But the most important thing is this first line to figure out how it's going to sit on the wall. Now we got to cut this out. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this out, and I'll be right back with you. Now, it's important when you're cutting this type of stuff that you pay attention to you don't have to get the lines out of there. And if you make everything to uniform angles, you can use a miter box to cut the stuff. We're going to come back around the other way. We're going to try to hit this angle here. We're going to get it. So now that I've got most of this cut, I made a little bit of a mess up right here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna follow this out and kind of change that curvature a little bit. And I'll cut this out with a jigsaw. So now we messed this up. So how do I fix that? One of the ways you can do it is you just kind of take the square, put it on your 0 point right there, and then just change the angle a little bit. And then you kind of look at it and figure out where the blade's gonna come in. Then you wanna cut the radius with the jigsaw too. So. Probably gonna get criticized by all the fancy carpenters and cabinet makers out there that we're not using a bandsaw and all sorts of fancy equipment, but the whole point of these how-to videos is to show you how to make practical things for your house using very simple tools that you find at a home store that aren't that expensive, that can be used for lots of different things. Now that we have this kind of mabobber, we got to make another one of these. I'm gonna take my piece of wood and I'm just gonna come back over to the edge here, and what I like to do is whatever's gonna take up the least amount of real estate is what I like to kind of line this up. Now one of the other fun things you can do is if you can find the grain, you can match that up, but we cut this kind of quick here. So, and then I'm just gonna pull it back from the edge a little bit, and I'll show you why. There's a good chance you didn't get this completely straight. You wanna just trace it out and leave the pencil marks, and then you finish it off with the sander. So when you sand it all down, you'll get rid of all the goofy lines and stuff like that. So I'm actually not gonna cut here, but I'll use that as a sand line so that I can get the whole thing chopped out. So one of the other ways that you can do this, use a circular saw. But if you use a circular saw, I definitely recommend, we just moved here a couple of months ago, so all of our stuff is all over the place. But if you use a circular saw, you definitely want to use some clamps. And you clamp this down to your bench in a couple of different spots. One here, and then what this is gonna do is this is gonna help against push coming this way. And then you put another clamp right here, lock this down, and this way it's nice and solid. And then you can take your circular saw and kind of cut this out to the best of your ability and just leave the line. If your clamp's in the way, you just kind of move it out the other side. Then once you got it like this, you can take your speed square and kind of line it up. You know, you see our edge right here. So you're gonna line it up a little bit like that. Cut this all off. Same thing as before, clean this up with a jigsaw. You don't have to get it perfect because the next step is to sand them all down. So that's how you would do it with one of these orbital sanders, but to speed things up, I'm going to take these over to our big belt sander. Now the next step is figuring out how, so that's gonna be like that, that's gonna be like that. How wide apart do we want them? So I'm gonna line them up with the kind of right here with the trucks. Take a measurement, and we'll make it 13. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut this at 13. This is gonna sit just like this on the wall. So now the next thing we gotta do is we gotta figure out how much we got left. And I just make a mark like that. I'm gonna trim this off of here with the table saw. There, perfect. So that is how it's going to sit on the wall. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. Definitely want to glue these together, and then you can either throw a screw like this right through the side of it, but I have a pocket screw machine, so I'm going to put some pocket screws in the back side of here so that you don't see the fastener. So because this is oak, I like to clear these out. If you put it like this, that would be wrong. You need to put it like this so that these guys sit like this, but then what do? How do you hold all this stuff together? So we're gonna go ahead and glue this up. Just spread it evenly across there, and then do the other side. I like to use this Titebond Ultimate Wood Glue. It's Titebond 3. The reason is because it's meant for trim work, and it sets up really nice, and probably the least amount of time, and then it'll actually hold the piece to a certain degree while you're still working with it. So I'll just put it on like that, and then let the air get to it for a couple of seconds while I wipe off my hand. And then I grab these are really handy. It's probably the #1 thing I have that comes in the most different kinds of sizes and comes in all different types of uses, is these types of clamps where it has a slide like this, and then you final tighten right here. And so I use them a lot. I use them to clamp things to tables, so they're really inexpensive. I think you can get one for like $5, and I probably have, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them because they come in so many different uses for this type of stuff, all sorts of projects. So I'll just kind of push that tight against there for a minute, let it kind of get a suction to it so that I can put the other one on fairly simple. Just come over here and then I messed it up, see? That's the wrong way to go about it. They gotta go this way. You don't wanna see the pocket screws when you're all done. That's gonna go like that. And then take our clamp and we'll bring it in, kind of lay it all. It's nice to work on a flat surface like this because you can lay the clamp flat, you lay all this flat, and then slide it over to the edge, give it a good tighten. And now you can work with the thing and it's not gonna do anything. So then, and all your edges on the backside are gonna be nice and flush now. So now, put some screws in it. These are a special kind of pocket screw that works really well. You don't over tighten them, just send them home. So now I got it like this. One thing that you can do is, I like this little palm router right here. It's battery operated. Makita makes it, it's really nice. So, but then I put a little roundover bit in there, and it's just got a little edge on it. Instead of sitting there and rocking the sander back a million different ways, you can use something like this. And just follow it all the way around. It gives a nice clean edge. It's lightweight too, so. Then if you forget, like I did, to do it before I put it all together, then at least the edges where you couldn't get to, you have a nice guide so you can then use a palm sander and just kind of hit those last areas. All right, so it all depends on if you're gonna be hanging stuff like this on the wall and no one's ever gonna pull it off or this, that, and the other, you could probably use something a little lighter duty. I like these toggle bolts that have the zip tie function to them. and I'll show you how those work in a second. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out some screw holes. This whole thing is 14 and a half, so that would be here. And then let's say we went 7, maybe we'll go 10 inches apart. Yeah. So we're just going to go 2 1/4 from our ends. I'll use my speed square so I don't make a bunch of marks. I put some little marks right at the edge, and then I'm just going to slide this up, and then the whole piece came out to 3 3/4. So half of 3 would be 1 1/2, and then half of 3/4 would be 3/8. So we're going to go 1 7/8. Put a little mark there. Come over here. Put a mark here. Drill these out. And we'll have our screws, they'll sit like that. So what I like to do is I'll just take this over to the wall. That's why these particular hangers are so awesome, because put the level on the bottom like this. We'll get it nice and level. Put it where we want it. Make sure we're still level. Drill our 2 holes. That's a little too big. So what we can do is you can just take the drill bit, just kind of lightly move it around like that. Take our hangers, they're gonna go right through the wall. Pull that tight like that. You'll hear it kind of flatten out, so you put it in that way, and then see this motion right here. So you'll line these up, and then it'll hit flat, and then you pull it tight and then zip it down. So it goes in the wall, and we'll move those, get it nice and tight, push that. Now these come with like little perforations, so then you just push these up, push them down, and those break off like that. Put the screws in, line them up with the holes, and then they'll just go in there like that. Come back with your drill. And you have a nice place to hang your skateboard. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about any of the different things that we went over today on how to build this, leave those in the comments below. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I'd be more than happy to have you. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button right over here. And then if you haven't liked it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for, because it's almost over. So before time runs out, hit that button right there, and we'll see you next time.